Here we go.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing out there? Welcome back to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host Sandra McEllis, and we've got Barbara Hudak today. We met in Sedona, and she's going to share a little bit about her inspirational story and how she got to where she is, and has some of the degrees and titles that she's got, and what she does for a living, and maybe one or two pivotal moments that got her where she is. And but in the meantime, we don't want you to miss any upcoming episodes. So do us a favor, hit like, subscribe, share, and comment to help the algorithms, and be sure that you don't miss an episode. So welcome, Barbara. It's good to see you.
Oh, good to see you again, Sandra. Thanks so much for the invitation. I'm excited to be here with you.
I'm excited to have you. So we know you're a nurse, and nurses are always by heart caregivers and those of being in service, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's a lifelong dream, and then sometimes it's just where the educational place took us. Um, but how did you start on this road of just healing and wanting to help others and your spiritual journey? I mean, anything going on in the younger years that pivoted you towards what you do today?
Yeah, it's always an interesting look back to kind of think back about where it all began. But I always knew I wanted to be a nurse. I want to say 8 years old. I was raised in Catholic school, so I kind of wanted to be a nun and then to be a nurse. I didn't do the nun. But yeah, I always wanted to help. I always wanted to heal and just help. Like if somebody had an injury or something, I would just help. It was just that innate, I don't know, just wanting to care and nurture people around me. And so that was it, and it stuck. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then secondly, I like military. My dad was an army captain in Poland, so in the Polish army. And so I've always had that ingrained too since I was a kid that, they came from Poland. So it was immigrants, back in the late 50s. They had me in the early 60s. And the fact that freedom isn't free and that we need to support and defend and just honor and contribute to the country. So that's kind of in the back end too. So in college, I decided to join the Air Force, and because I always liked planes, and that just always felt right to me. Plus, I like blue for the uniform. The others didn't really go well with my eyes. So the idea of now I became a nurse in the Air Force. And so that was my first step away from home. My mom passed away a few months after I joined. So
Mm.
that was a moment where I really held a lot of guilt. And oh my gosh, I was an only child. She really didn't want me to leave home. So that was a lot that I carried with me unknowingly for many years to go, wow, what did I do? And could that have been prevented? So that was the early years of my nursing career. But at the same time, met my husband in Texas, was my first duty station, and meant to be, soul partners. And that's where the nursing journey started. And I went through all different facets. So in nursing, most of us will start off medical surgical, so basic nursing care, and then cardiology if you'd like, or intensive care, ER. You kind of progress through. That's the beauty of nursing. You can find what you're good at, what resonates with you. And so I spent most of my career as an ICU nurse, mostly cardiac and ER, and then went into nursing administration and was done. They always say, when do you know when you're meant to leave the profession or leave whatever path you're on, because it wasn't sustainable for me. It wasn't joyful. It got very stressful, and I felt just drained, like I wasn't on the right path anymore. So that was kind of my nursing career. But I could see people around me, we're taught to push and go, and even though you're tired and you don't even know what you're feeling because you suppress it all. And that was what got me on the journey to more of a holistic and integrative wellness, because it was my own health was really not great at the time. And I had no idea about it. I just knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what to do, because that was a sign of weakness. If I didn't push and I didn't, keep work these 16-hour shifts and not complain, like, what's wrong with me? I'm tired and I'm achy and I'm mean, very short temper. And I turned it on me. And I thought, well, what's wrong with me? And the fact is, I'd never been taught to or allowed to take care of myself and replenish and have compassion. So that's kind of where I am right now. I get to serve nurses around me, healthcare providers, military, whoever is really in a rigid profession that is very stoic, that's when they kind of hit that wall and go, I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like, oh, I totally know where you are. No, I don't know. It's like we've never been taught to or permitted to pause, take a breath, and recover. We're not robots, we're human beings, and we forget that, I think, sometimes in these professions. So,
Yeah, and I'm in the medical field, so I go in and out of hospitals all the time. So I see this, and I have a lot of relatives and that are nurses. My mom was a nurse, so I saw it all firsthand, and I can see it now, where the requirements of a nurse are just getting dumped on more and more and more. That you're a robotic, you're not even human anymore, and you're sandwiched between the corporate ownership of the hospital and all the insurances, the physicians, policy procedure, and then the patient. And so there's a lot of you're getting lost in the shuffle constantly. So I do see that burnout, and it saddens me, because you're required to be on your feet nonstop for at least a minimum of 12 hours
yeah.
and multiple days a week if you're going to make a living at it. And I see the burnout, and it's sad, which is why we go in and out of these nursing shortages, because all of a sudden, hey, we're not going into that this year, and they'll have years of lapse of nurses, and then it will influx. So there's a lot of emotional trauma because you're a magnet for all the energies that are happening in there, because I feel that nurses are, the giving of service, but you're highly empathic. So there's a hypersensitive frequency there within that body that wants to give. But we have to realize at some point, if we don't balance that, you get to the point of no return, and it does turn on you, which is what sounds like occurred to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so subtle. I don't think I certainly didn't recognize it. And the way I did find out about it and had an awareness of it was through this heart math system. So there's a Institute of Heart Math, and I was invited to be a part of a study at the hospital, and they put this sensor on my ear even before the program. And it was erratic. And I'm like, well, what is this? My heart rate's in the 60s. I'm not stressed, which I really wasn't at that point, but my rhythm, my HRV pattern was very erratic, which meant my nervous system was not in sync. And that was my first awareness. And boy, was that a slap in the face. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I kept saying the sensor back to the Heart Math Institute, and they're like, no, the sensor's fine. I'm like,
It's you.
what's wrong with me?
It's you. It's not
It's
the
me.
sensor.
How rude. But that was my first aha moment to go, oh, wait a minute. And burnout doesn't happen just from one bad day. It's the accumulation of stress and the accumulation of, the experiences that, you're given a gold star if you can push through, and like you did, great. And I realized, well, my soul is actually dying, and nobody seems to, this isn't unique. Everybody's kind of having their own experiences. But to your point, what are we taking home? What are we um, feeling? And I didn't even know that much about intuition. I kind of knew I was tuned in to patients. I can kind of tell when something was going to go on or something wasn't right. That's just normal to me. I didn't think about what that was. But the fact that, not to do any, excuse me, any energetic spiritual hygiene, I didn't learn any of that. I was just carrying all the stuff home with me. And my husband was medical too. So we were both in the trenches, and you come home and do your own thing and don't realize that spiritually, energetically, we're getting sucked dry.
Yeah.
And good news is that there's a way to prevent that or to mitigate that, but I had no clue. So we're just swimming in this sea of all these emotions and the traumas that people are going through, and thinking, well, what's wrong with me? We've never been trained. And that should be, I don't know if it is now in nursing schools or in healthcare, but that energetic component is key. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and you're not just swimming in it, but then you're living off the only fuel you have, which is adrenaline overload,
Yeah.
because you're always in fight or flight no matter what is going on, because there's crisis happening during every shift multiple times, and then you're the glue between so many different layers. Um, so I don't know what the life expectancy of an average nurse is, but I can't imagine 8 years doing it straight going, I can't do this anymore, you know? So do you think through that overload that got you to step back and become aware of your own health took you in a different direction into what
I,
you do now?
yeah, I believe it did. And I didn't connect the dots back then because I learned about when I moved to Arizona. So we were stationed in multiple different places in the Air Force, but our last duty station was Arizona. And Arizona is very, as we know, it's like that where healing occurs and it's the rise of the phoenix from the ashes. A lot of people come to Arizona for healing. And so we were in the Phoenix area and I came across a Reiki book. And I thought, huh, it was one of those, 5 books for a penny in the back of a book. I'm probably dating myself, but the idea of like, I'm going to get these 5 books, and one of them was the Reiki book. And I read it cover to cover in hours. And I said, I have to find a Reiki master. Sure enough, there was somebody in Scottsdale and started taking my level 1. Level 2, unbeknownst to me, I was working in the ER at that time at Luke Air Force Base. And I walk into level 2 class, and there is one of the doctors. And he says, What are you doing here? And I said, Well, what are you doing here? Like, nobody knows. This is like a secret
Shh.
oven or something. Like, what are you? He's like, so he was like, we were just in 2 different classes, and we happened to, connect to level 2. And it was interesting because I probably had 2 years left still in the Air Force. I didn't know that, but I had 2 years to really practice doing Reiki on people coming in the ER, and just fun, not saying a word, come in with a migraine. Next thing you know, the patient's like, my headache's gone. I'm going to go. And these ER docs are like, what are you doing? I said, I don't know. And we actually did the same doctor and I were on an ambulance run taking a patient, cardiac patient, to a hospital downtown because we didn't have the level of care they needed. So we're in the back and he started having these really weird heart rhythms. And so we're both like, we turned on the meds and stuff too, as usual, but we also started doing Reiki together. And it was so interesting because we had never worked together in that way. We've never been in the back of an ambulance together. And it was so interesting because this guy just, his eyes opened and he's like, I don't know what's happening, but I feel different. I feel better. Like I feel like I'm alive. I was like, that's interesting. So we're just kind of behind the scenes going. So that was my first awareness to say, wow, the power of energy work and the power of Reiki and other modalities, the benefit that it can do in addition to regular care. So that was another pivotal moment where yeah, just saw the power of intention and the power of this Reiki healing.
It is so powerful. There are many people who are in the religious dogma who will believe in the power of prayer. And I'm like, then why wouldn't you be in the power of setting your intention for healing symbols? Like, prayer is all about symbols, prayer is all about intention. Reiki is no different, you know. It's hard to cross that barrier sometimes with certain people, even to today, because occasionally I'll do a Reiki circle in the midst of something, and I'm one of the practitioners with other healers there. People are afraid to sit in my chair. They're like, no, I don't, I'll pray, but I won't. It's like, okay, all right, when you're ready. You can see everybody else profoundly getting up, more my chair than anyone else's. Like, say there was a massage therapist or someone else there, more people getting up out of my chair were in tears or had a completely different facial look and expressed it verbally. So there's something to it. And that power of an open-hearted intention is just sets the tone for such a vibrational resonance of healing on a level that we scientifically don't have enough studies on.
Yes, yes. It's true. And I think the idea of like people, I love what you said that about the prayer because there's so many studies done on prayer where people
Yes.
didn't know they were being prayed for and they
Yes.
were better, their pain was, but all these different things. And there
Mhm.
is more Reiki research, I think, coming out
Yes.
now, much more than it was 20 years ago, where people would just be like,
Yeah, I started it
you're
20.
in the club.
Yeah, I started at 25. I was a massage therapist, and then people would say, "You're different. Like, what do you do?" And I'd say, just some energy work. And then finally, I went and did my Reiki mastership, and then I came back, and someone goes, well, what kind of energy do you do? People would, I just energy work. And after the Reiki thing, I said, it's Reiki. And they go, what's that? And I go, see, it's just energy. You're not going to know what it is anyway. So
Yeah.
the point is that you feel better and that you want to come back and that you leave here in a more wholesome, healthy state.
Mhm.
And when you're in a wholesome, healthy state, you are approaching life more trusting, more peaceful, more loving, and more compassionate for yourself and those in your surrounding area. So if I can contribute to that in my community, there's nobody that's going to step in my way. So if you choose not to get on my chair because you have some belief system that it's witchy, well, I'm a white witch. What can I say? Call me what you want. It's okay. It's healing work. It's all source energy.
Mhm.
It's just a
Yeah,
different avenue to deliver it.
that's it. That's it. And there's nurses, you mentioned earlier about how we're, compassionate and all that. And some, yes, I will say, but some are very technical or like really oriented towards like ICU specifically. You think about you've got one patient and it's just you, and you've got all these monitors and all the drips and all the things and all this equipment that's life support, which is fascinating. Love it. And you can be really good at that. And the beauty is, what if you now have the gift of Reiki and you
Yes.
can share that with other people? It's that presence when you walk in the room that people just say, I don't know, who you are, but you just walked in and I just felt calm. It's like, yeah, that's because we're all transmitting our energy. We're transmitting that frequency of appreciation or gratitude or compassion or calm. And that's the one thing I learned too, which I didn't know what I was really doing, but now we see more studies that say, we can influence a space, we can influence a healing environment. And if you're stressed out as a nurse, which it's very natural, but if you can calm yourself before you walk into a patient
Yes.
room, before each interaction, the whole thing just changes. And it's been fun to watch as I teach this too to nursing students and to physicians or anybody working with anybody really, mental health providers. Your coherence and your presence can influence can change the whole energetic and the relationship and the communication, which is, it seems so simple, but it's a huge piece.
Well, it has to have a crossover with the medical field. I've got a couple cousins that are nurses who have said, hey, can I come just learn from you one on one? I'm like, sure, absolutely. We can just do a basic so you can take it back with you. And you want to know more, let me know. And because we have to bring it into there, there's times where I know someone might not be receptive, but my own energy carries all those symbols like a floating letters and symbols in my aura. And I will just ask spirit that whatever needs to be activated or whatever in that room in between individuals, let it be so. And with the intention of love. So I don't necessarily have to go in and with my mind's eye while I'm having a conversation, start shooting, symbols out and visualize them on the person's body. It's just on me and it's just shared wherever I go. So it reverberates and it's an energetic exchange. And I get a lot of people who say, you're very different than the girl that came here a month ago. Can you come back again? I was like, sure, you could request me because I do cardiac care. So,
Nice.
so I have a lot of people who have had a life and death sudden, usually very sudden
Yes.
change of their normal routine. So they definitely need that
Yeah.
calmness. So tell me, what is BioWell?
So BioWell is a camera. It's a device, and curiously, this technology I was introduced to in 2007. Not the actual BioWell itself, but from a biophysicist that worked with me at Mayo Clinic. Her name is Dr. Nancy Rizzo, and I don't know, we were on the integrative medicine subcommittee because we were kind of going to the holistic care kind of thing, but um, with different results. I mean, it's like you're pushing against this huge fire hose of like that's not medicine, and there's not clinical studies. So in terms of Reiki and other things, and so she has this device, which the BioWell I believe is based on, but it's a little camera, and I'll show it to you. This is not exactly her device, but this is the BioWell. It's a little camera, and it has a little well, the camera's inside of it, and there's a little glass inside. You would put each finger one by one through this little device, and that would go on here. And so it's measuring the biophotonic discharge from your fingertips. So what it does, it sends a little micro impulse of light and energy to stimulate your light to come out of your fingertips, which are then each one is related to meridians in Chinese medicine. So you can get a quick look at what is happening in the nervous system, stress levels. You could also, if you're doing a deeper dive, you can do the actual look at physical issues. And it's a, I can't say it's diagnostic or anything like that, but it could energetically show what is happening within a system. So for example, Dr. Nancy, she saw her dad's kidney cancer before it was even shown on a CT scan 6 months prior. And she's like, something's up, something's in the field, maybe not physical yet, but then when it landed in the field, there it was. So you're able to see things like that and maybe do something about it, do an intervention, do supplementing, or change your thoughts. There's so many different things that affect energy, as we know. But this is a really quick look. When we do this at conferences like we were doing in Sedona, we simply do a chakra scan. So it's taking all the information, all the meridians, and it's aggregating that into your energy centers. And you can see, are your centers aligned or are they not? And how large is each energy center? Because you can be pretty aligned, but if you're running on empty like I was, I can imagine if I would have had this done back then, it would be like zero energy reserve. You're just running on fumes. So we can see that. A lot of times people will say, I knew it. I knew it. I feel tired, or some of them are really more surprised, like I'm more aligned than I thought I was. And you start to look at, is the heart center out? Is the, solar plexus out? Is typically in Sedona, when I see my clients, the root is really out temporarily because they're in Sedona. It's a different energetic. They just traveled. It's a very different energy than a lot of places. There's other places I know in the world that are energetically active, but this will hit you, and people will say, "Whoa, I feel really um, foggy," or "I just feel disoriented. I feel like I'm destabilized." Well, yeah, your root is way over here. What can you do? Take a few slow, deep breaths. You can say an affirmation. For example, I am grounded, I am safe, I'm stable. And then, of course, we have our essential oils that we offer too that can help you to really bring in that energy of the tree, cedar wood or spruce or fir. And then we measure after. Yeah, root chakra is typically very much shifted back, and they're like, "What?" Like, "Well, how do you feel?" They're like, "No, I feel better." Like, there you go. So that to me is just fun to see how we're able to affect and influence energy from and give it the science where people see the visual and they go, "Oh."
Well,
So
also
that's
looking at the measurement of the vibrational frequency of each oil. Who would have thunk that 100 years ago, 200 years
yeah,
ago, right? And everyone is used in every space of the universe has that we're aware of on this planet Earth has used
mhm,
essential oils, or we've used them in other planets and just brought the information here. Who the heck knows?
yeah,
But it's always been known that they may not have measured it, so because it's on bottles now, right? But the power of that, and then picking and choosing it based on what's going on with you, I can only imagine amplifies the healing.
yeah. It's I don't want to say it's like a shortcut, but it definitely, I love shortcuts. So
It's a quicker
it
fix because when
definitely,
you feel better instantly, you're going to remember that, like, whoa, I was all wobbly
yes,
over here. Okay, oh my, I'm totally, I feel like my neck's aligned, like everything's aligned right now.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
don't realize it's kind of like you can look straight on at somebody and you think you're straight on, but your head's tilted. And it's not until you look in the mirror that you can see it. How many people get on your table? I know tons on mine, and they think they're straight up and down and they're cockeyed. and you have to straighten them out, and then they feel uncomfortable because they got
Yes.
comfortable with the
That's right.
uncomfort. You know what I mean? That
That's
became their new
huge.
baseline, their new normal. And I think practitioners like you are not only helping people get into that alignment and then to feel and tap into that difference, and then teach them how to maintain it, right?
Yes.
So that they can come back to some place of homeostasis, because we store emotions. We just store our muscular skeletal systems through emotions. It's not just a physical, oh, I hurt my shoulder or I fell when I was 10, and that's why this shoulder's pointed a little bit forward. There's a lot of emotion that came with that, or
Yes.
you could have never had a physical injury that you remember, but maybe you sat to the right of your father at the dinner table multiple years, and there was always a critical, and your body was just naturally kind of going
Yes.
inward, and then you realize that's your new normal.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a, oh, don't get me started on emotions. I think that's the fascinating, yeah, where they say like 90% of physical issues are related to emotions. And I think you're right.
Absolutely.
Either they're unexpressed or suppressed or this unconscious, and all of a sudden you start to, when they have people on your table, same thing. I'm sure that there's this, you get to a certain place and there's this place of opening and expansion. And somebody that's as a Reiki practitioner or any type of energy worker, massage therapist, healer, whatever, the name we would like to give it, is having a space or an energetic of presence, compassion, and really there's no criticism, there's no judgment, there's just this open space to allow that healing to occur. All of a sudden, people get that tears come, or there's, some emotional, like, I don't even know, I thought about something, I haven't thought about this in ever. No idea. It's like, yeah, because we're creating a space together for you to let that go when you're ready. It feels like, yes, you're ready. And so that's the deeper dive into, wow, the power of unexpressed and suppressed and unallowed emotions, even grief, things like that, where we just keep it together for whatever, we just keep going for whatever reason. I just had a client the other day that had this huge grief, lost her husband, um, and is just now, maybe 2 years ago, is finally now processing in her own time when she's ready. And she has the space to allow that. And it's deeply moving and profound to allow these oils and that energy to just go in like a neroli or a rose, to really hold that space and hold that heart to allow that energy to move through. It's just, it's humbling. It's an honor to get to work with people in that way. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and then to see the tangible difference expressed, and also you see it in their entire coloring and their body stance is amazing. I've been using oils for 40 years at least, um, professionally, and then before that. Um, but it's when you were talking about the emotional pathways, you don't realize how much you're carrying until you begin to really open up about it. I was equating it to like you're sitting in a position, your leg goes numb, right? And you still have to kind of sit there and go through it. But when you get up and then the blood starts to go through and the nerve endings are untangled, that's like the pathways, the feeling of the physical pathways through the emotional, but they hit in the heart center, the gut, many other places. Um, and they bring forth a different phase, a different level of expansion, because you're opening up neural pathways that have been locked up because you thought the physical injury may have healed, but you didn't deal with the emotional side of it. And
Yeah.
give yourself the love that you deserve. How many times? I mean, come on, Barbara, good heavens. How many times I go, I don't feel good. Well, I just got to keep going. I just got to keep going, right? Or then
Yeah.
you come down with something that's like, whether it's the stomach bug or something where you're like, oh, shit, I got to take off today. I can't. I got a fever,
Yeah.
this or that, right?
Yeah.
How many times do we sit there feeling guilty
Oh,
because we are already thinking about the world outside of us that we were supposed to be a part of? Now we can't. So it's wrong to be sick. It's
yes.
wrong to self nurture. Instead of saying, my body warned me for a while and
Yeah.
I overrode, I hit override multiple times
Yeah.
till I got here. I need to take responsibility for my participation. I need to apologize to my body for not listening. I need to forgive myself. And then I need to run some energy through my body. And thank you for the bed I get to lay in. Thank you for the 5 sick days I get a year and I got to take 2, right? I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking about, I'm a realist. So it's all about that walk of your daily life. Thank you for, at least having 2 sick paid days. And thank you for the strength that I will gain to go back now and face what I have missed out on, because it's my responsibility to complete those chores. But we really never give ourselves permission to just be out of the loop and self nurture and explore where we have blocked up, locked up, and turned off our God source energy, our life force energy in the physical, much less the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And I think the fact that we wait to get sick, but yeah, I'm sure you've seen this too. Patients come through and they're like, wow, this has been, whether it's a diagnosis of cancer or a diagnosis of a triple bypass, you have a huge heart disease, like, and then later, like, wow, it's those things that they knew, but they just kept going for all the different expectations. I'm the breadwinner, or I'm the whatever, I don't have time. There's all these different things, which is true. I don't want to dismiss that, but to go, wow, how harsh are we to ourselves? We would never, I don't think, do that to somebody else, but we can be so difficult and so critical and judgmental of ourselves, where we don't allow ourselves that latitude to say, you know what, I'm going to pause. I'm going to listen to my body, because we shut it down. People would say, well, how do you feel? I'm like, feel? I don't know. What are you talking about? I don't have, when I first got into this type of work, I had no connection with my body. It's like, I don't even know what it's saying. And they're like, well, how can that be? Because I'm really good at suppressing. And I go numb and I'm like, all right, now I can function. So I thought, and yeah, you're great for other people, but it's not sustainable. And are you really great? There's all these different levels of expectation of what does that mean to be a successful um, provider or an accountant or whatever we do. Is, we can just go and provide and I will be there. I am responsible. Yeah, you're responsible for other people and at what cost to yourself. That's a huge flip of a perspective to say, I matter. My body matters, my feelings matter, my emotions matter, not more than anybody else's. I don't want to say again like that it's me over you, but can't we do it together where I take care of myself and I can take care of others as well? Priority is me, and I was never taught that. It was like, you give to everybody else, you're selfless, and look at you. I'm like, yeah, look at me.
Yeah, and I grew up Catholic, and my mom was very, I think we were at CCD more than any other family, or confession more than any other family in the station wagon. My mom would go in before we could go in, and we'd sit out there, all 5 of us picking on each other. So, I mean, it's like we have this go, go, go. And my mom was like, no, you can't sit still. You've got to keep busy. Because, according to her mother, who had 16 children, the rule was, what was it? Idle hands are the devil's workshop, meaning you're going to get yourself in trouble because you don't have anything constructive to do. So we had to knit, we had to sew, we had to do chores. I couldn't stand it. I felt like I could never just sit still in the rocking chair. Hence why I own one right here, because I'm a kinesthetic learner. I learn through movement. When my body is moving, everything is flowing in a different way than when I'm locked down. And we're not listening to our bodies because we've had so many things handed down to us, and we hit override and it becomes our normal. I joined Pilates 6 months ago. You want to talk about, I thought I was so mind body spiritually connected. I get on that reformer and I'm like, oh, one foot's out. Oh, I've been using the outer part of my leg too much. I need to adjust. Never beating myself up, going, oh, goal. Thank you for the awareness. Now let me not look and go into my body and feel it adjust. And let me feel the difference. You know what I mean? but I never downed on myself about, oh, wow, God, I must be out of shape. Must be this, must be that. Oh, the reformer isn't balanced. No, just kidding. It's me. It's the user, but we do need to get back into our bodies, and that requires consciousness,
Yeah.
and to let that subconscious stop being the dominating ruler.
Yeah. It's not trained. And again, hopefully, we think now when we're teaching some of these programs and classes, whether it's heart math or doing, aromatherapy or all these different things that really do help you to get still and to listen and go into the heart instead of that brain just being so busy. And I love my mind. It's wonderful. It's got me where I am, and it's tactical, and it's operational, and it's creative. It's all those things. And it's in that place of stillness. How many of us can't stop our thoughts? At night, I have so many clients, like my mind is racing. It's like, what if during the day you pause, you drop into your heart, you take a slow, deep breath? Well, I don't have time. You're breathing
You
anyway.
do.
If you don't have time
Prioritize.
now, you're gonna be in trouble later on. So I'm trying to
Mm.
prevent some things. But it's breaking that loop of I don't have time, I don't deserve, or it's just all these thoughts and all these programs, these tapes that are running in the background.
Mm.
And when we're aware of that, to go, ooh, interrupt. And like you were saying earlier, it's not comfortable until it's wired in, until we create that new habit. It can seem uncomfortable, or we don't want to do that. But boy, just even a couple of months of practice, I would say, just slow, deep breaths. Whenever we talk about the heart math work, doing something like it's called a heart lock in, where maybe for 2, 3 minutes, lock into that heart, and your brain is going to be super busy. And it's going to be like people say, I have all these thoughts now. I'm like, honey, you've had the thoughts. You're just aware of them now, and you get to
Yeah.
interrupt them. And it's convincing the mind and the brain that I function better when my heart rhythms are smooth and they're aligned. And at some point, I love when that there's that moment in my coaching clients where they just see it or they feel it and they go, oh my gosh, I'm doing it without even thinking about it. You've just created a new pathway. And that's going to become the norm. And that will become familiar. Just like repositioning the body, changing our thoughts, changing our minds, changing our emotions. It's awareness is the first thing, and then consistently doing something about it to make that change.
Yeah, and then you become aware of your physical senses.
Yeah.
The ones that you've been like not paying it, like how does that food really taste? Because you just wolfed it down.
Yes.
Why don't you bring it back up into your mouth and just chew it like a cow? Just get that cud going, and really, really dissect what is in your mouth and how it tastes, and what responders and receptors is it going to that's giving you messages. Do you really like that food? I mean, I've been doing this now for a while. Everything I eat, I'm like, let me just see how I like this today, because my body might not be thinking it's vibrational friendly at this moment, but it's a habit of eating it, right? Because we get conditioned and we rotate maybe what, 8 recipes a week. We just get in a habit for a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I don't know, the last couple of years I've been wanting to pull my hair out. Like, I don't want any of this structure. I need choice in every moment. But that takes due diligence. So it's like, okay, I need to pick out different things at the store, not be lazy and just keep going back to the same things. How does it taste? How does it smell? What do I want? How do I feel within 30 minutes after eating it? And, is it a liver for my body, or is it a something that deadens and dampens it? Just
Mhm.
feel the difference. Forget all these diet fads and what everybody's telling you to do. If you didn't have any of those, what would you eat? You would eat what was available to you. And then you would make choices on what's available to you, on what helps you feel more alive. But
Yes.
stepping back into what you just said is when we're in our body and we take that recording, because our subconscious, to me, as I've described, is a 24-hour surveillance camera. It's picking up everything even though you don't see it, sense it, or feel it. It's picking up everything, and it's store, and it comes out in your behavior, comes out in a lot of things. So until you kind of quiet that, come into the conscious mind, make your choices, you may realize, I I don't think I want to make that choice today. I don't think I want to make that choice in this moment. But you can't do that until you come to homeostasis, have some peace and balance, feel the love in your heart, and love yourself first because you are source.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. It's like automatic or autopilot, right? You think about, when you talk about, and that's the stress response, the amygdala, exactly right. It stores all that information and it's a default. So even, the awarenesses of like, how do I react to different things? I would say respond, but back then I was very reactive, but when I got into this
Mm-hmm.
work, it was always irritation, frustration, anger. For some of us, it might be anxiety, it might be overwhelm, worry. There's all these different, like your favorite emotions or your favorite tapes is what I ask people. Like if you were to think about all the different things in your life, and for me, it was going through my mentorship with Heart Math was um, 10 different things that were stress points in my life. And she said, now look at the middle column, which would be what is the emotion? And it was anger. 8 out of 10 things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm an angry person. And now she knows it. I'm going to be a trainer at the hospital. And now I had this wave of shame of like, oh no, now there's something wrong with me. And she was like, whoa, whoa, look, these things are not even related. All these different things you listed, your default is anger because you've done it a lot. You've wired it in. You can unwire that. And I say this, I still use that with my coaching clients now. I work a lot with veterans and folks with post-traumatic stress and to say, you're not damaged, you're not flawed, it's not wrong. It's just familiar. And
Yes.
now that you know it, guess what? You can change it. You can interrupt that pattern and you can introduce something new. What if I had compassion for myself or that person? Or what if I have that moment of stillness where I get to see them through a different lens? Do I really want to be angry with this person? One, it's not even about them. Mostly it's because I'm dumping cortisol into my system as I realize I'm like, oh, I'm really good at that. Yeah, no wonder you're fussy and your rhythms are all erratic because you don't know anything different. You were never
Mm-hmm.
taught anything different. And so that to me is that hope and that curiosity and that limitless possibilities. Like you get to change what you think, what you feel, what you eat. And that affects how we make those choices in day to day. As you were saying, pausing, how does that feel? Do I want to make that choice? And now we're responding to that same thing rather than reacting. It's a whole different game.
Yes, and we're not respecting our nervous systems enough. They're already overloaded to the max.
Yeah.
And there are so many borderline derailments happening within that body. I mean, you've got multiple tasers hitting multiple areas of that body constantly, etherically and physically. And it's creating this slow leakage into harm, right? So before we get to these points, what would you suggest with what you do if someone could just step back right here, right now, for just a minute or two and reclaim themselves as the driver of this vehicle, the commander of this chair, as a source being creator?
Yeah. Well, I think that, the biggest thing that I teach is heart focused breathing. That's something I use in all of my classes, all of my clients, all of my meetings. Even we start our meetings at Heart Math, of course, with this too. And it's basically focusing your attention on the area of the heart and then just bringing your attention down. And it's different because we're typically brain centric and we're running up here, even just the basics of putting your hand on your heart, taking a slow, deep breath and just breathing slower and deeper than normal. Maybe 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And then just noticing your brain is going to want to pull you back and you go, mm-mm, back. Like I have 3 full breaths I'm going to take right now. And the brain's like, I'm watching you. How many breaths are you? Yeah, and I have to teach through humor because we're just funny beings, we're just so programmable and teachable and wireable. And the good news is we can interrupt that focusing on the heart, brings the attention down here, slow, deep breaths. And then I sometimes will just ask, what does my heart want me to know? And just tune in. And then I do this frequently. And I will say, just in this moment, what does my heart want me to know? And I've said another way, what might be of most benefit? What does spirit want me to know? You can really, however you want to say that, whatever's comfortable for you. But to me, I've learned that my heart is my best friend. It has my divine blueprint. It has my compass. It's the gateway to the top three chakras, the lower three chakras. So to me, I really focus a lot here. And as a cardiac nurse, we're like, yeah, I love it anyway. Had no idea that it held so much information and so much space. And I can just drop in here. And that becomes my touchstone. I'm having a weird moment. I go, taking that breath, and we do it often enough, that becomes wired in, and the brain's like, wow, I'm freaking out right now. Let's do that thing that we've been doing, namely focusing on the heart, taking that breath. Just that alone can be hugely beneficial, even for if we're having trouble sleeping, if I want to set the tone for my day, how do I want to feel today? And then just imagining that. You can really weave this into so many different practices, but to me, the central focal point is right here. And I remember we were doing our classes, even at the hospital, we'd see people, security officers were like, you taught a heart math class, right? Yesterday. I said, why? He says, because there's people in the parking lot. I think they're having, it's like, oh no. And they're like, heart math. So all these folks were just, practicing it before they went into work, which was so fun. And before you know it, the family dynamic changes. If you're doing it at home, imagine doing that with your kids or with your, partner or whoever. And all of a sudden you just drop into that heart. It sets a very different tone. So I infuse it. It's a daily practice, and it's continuous, where it didn't used to be. It never went to my heart. I'm like, what? It's just a pump. It pumps blood. And dot, dot, dot.
Yes. Oh, the things we learn. Yeah, I think that's where the ignorance is wasted on the youth begins. Because I go, if I just knew what I know now in my 20s, and I thought I was pretty damn smart in my 20s spiritually. And like, if I just knew then what I know now, oh my gosh, I could have saved the world. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it's retrain the membrane, because it's you're literally calculating your electromagnetics, and you're bringing it home, so that your whole matrix, your fascia, everything starts to talk to each other versus trying to survive. Like, every organ's on its own with its rhythm, trying to survive on its own, but it survives based on the organs around it and the rhythm around it. So when one needs to pick up a little bit, the other one may slow down, because they all can't be revving at one time. But yet we live our life constantly injecting ourselves with cortisol. So now we're on this adrenaline flush, and we think it's normal. And then we drink coffee and all those other things. And so we're just self-tasering, and we're going to crash and burn. So as the world is going through such an ascension of changing of energy and awakening, and all the new technologies out here that are bringing back ancient technologies and bringing in new technologies, and how the two can merge to make your life more copacetic and peaceful. You're going to want to get rid of so much crap that you have, like the baggage, like people, places, things, jobs, because you're going to value this first.
Yes.
What serves this serves the universe.
It's huge. It's huge.
Isn't
And I think
it?
are you noticing that? Because we would talk about this a lot here in Sedona, is, in just our conversations with Team Light and with others, is so interesting, because you're right. The people that were, I'm not gonna say peripheral, but or sometimes you have really long-term friends and they're good. And at some point it's just friction and it's drama and it's all this stuff. And you're like, namaste. I'm good.
Well, your frequencies just aren't compatible. And that's what this huge split is happening right now. So you can see family, friends in the closest knit groups, all of a sudden they don't have to have a riff, or anything, drama to blow it up. It's just that people are starting to separate. And then the ones who are taking the heartfelt road can see things more clearly, like, oh, that's really, and not shaming it, but just recognizing it.
Yeah.
And just saying, well, okay, let them go on their path, because I need to, even if you're on your own little own little piece of ice and you feel like you're floating across the ocean all by yourself with just one little paddle. Promise you, there's more people out there doing the exact same thing. And it takes the courageous bunches of us to get out there and do that, break away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be hurtful. There doesn't have to be a fight. There doesn't have to be anything that you have to come back and redo that karma or apologize for. It's like, all right, well, I'm ready to kind of break away from my family,
Yes.
whatever family that I've created for myself. And I need to go out and explore my own and
Yeah.
honor me in the process, because I came here with an agenda. I don't quite know what that is, and I want to explore it.
Mhm.
And the best way to do it, like you said, is to get in there and connect with your breath. Calm this, connect with your heart and
Mhm.
your breath, and let it begin to navigate you and show you the multiple paths. So now you can make choices and you'll feel the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not going to think the difference, you're going to feel it.
That's right. That's right. And what you're saying that we're out there. I love that example of like, you're on this little ice cube, or little drifting. And you're absolutely right. Our energetic, then we begin to attract and magnetize others that are like-hearted, like-minded. You're like, oh my gosh, I thought it was just me. Like, just that's why I love these conferences that where we met. It's just like-hearted people were
Yes.
drawn together and magnetized. And there's so many of us, I think more than we think. And it's growing, is what I'm seeing
Yes.
too. There's many more now going, I feel like there's more to my life than what I'm living. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
When people say, well, this may be a weird question, I'm like, awesome. Let's talk about it. And people are waking up, and more so, I would say probably in the last 5 years. It's been really interesting to even see family members that have said, oh,
Mhm.
I used to say all this stuff back in the day, and we thought, over like Thanksgiving dinner, you'd bring up all these different things. And they're like, how did you know? Like, I don't know. How did you not see it? I don't know. There's
Exactly.
just
You can always come
the
back like, how did you not? You know?
Yeah, like really, I guess, and now having those conversations where there's more openness and more curiosity to go, I don't know, my journey's mine. You're now hearing some things that are coming out in the news or whatever, the media or whatever you want to call it, is there's an awareness of, that's interesting. I've heard that many years ago, and all of a sudden now you're drawn to that. And maybe their common ground will come again, maybe not. But that's the beauty is being open and staying true to your own heart, your own inner GPS, and letting that really um, drive us or guide us rather than all the external voices and the expectations and the I should, I could. Don't shit on yourself, is what they
Yeah,
say.
don't shit on yourself. It's not good. Don't do it. The
Yeah,
coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Well,
yeah,
we all have our own timing chain when we wake up, and we're not
yeah,
here to wake up and then start converting and soliciting our way, right? But
yeah.
if we all woke up at the same time, where would our teacher be? Where would our mentor be? So we had to come in, a little more prepared and ready to roll it out, and then honor thyself and take those steps out into the what I want to call a solo journey for a number of years, and be out there and be considered weird and even question your own weirdness. And but there would be an inner trust. And then here we are. We're going to be those who come to these conferences are seeking. There's more seekers than there are those who might know something. And every person that might know something is meeting another mentor to learn another avenue. So we're all here circling around, just trying to find our way and to be more loving and compassionate and in our heart center, practicing your breath. Where can people find you, Barbara?
Well, so I have two different websites. My primary is Heartful Integrations, and it's
Okay.
all one word,
Mm-hmm.
.com. And that is my primary services. I offer a lot of Zoom sessions, Oracle card readings, Reiki, just a lot of different things, distance. I do some things in Sedona here as well. And then my other website is Star Code Alchemy. And that is, again, all one word as well. It is our essential oil line. And so these are crystalline, infused, light and coated infused essential oils that have 24 karat gold crystals, and we also custom blend. That's been our biggest joy lately. So if people really want a consultation and a specific oil designed just for them based on astrology, based on human design. We pull everything together and then we blend it. And that's been our biggest fun lately. So that's me though.
Well, I absolutely love what you're doing and the fact that I just want to applaud you for honoring who you are and stepping into this space and then coming back out into the world and offering it long before it was ever cool, you know, so to speak. And you do live in an area where there's a lot of coolness going on, even though it's hot. I'm trying to hold down the fort here in Washington, D.C. I remember back in the 90s when I opened my own massage center, everyone was like, well, who do you think you are? And I went, I'm not working from my home and having people take the clothes off in my home. I have children. That's not happening. So I opened a space in a medical building and people would come in, and then I would have a handful that I could do just energy work. The rest was more massage. But I would have many people say to me, you belong in California. You should move to California. And I'm like, why? And they go, oh, because this stuff is all over California. I said, well, we need it all over here too.
Mhm. That's
So
right.
we've got to anchor our energy wherever we are with the resources that we have, not thinking we got to go somewhere else out of ourselves to obtain what we can obtain if we just sit still long enough
That's
to
right.
listen with the heart ears.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's like different light workers, healers, light warriors are in different sectors. That's why we're scattered across the
Yeah.
world, just because we're all part of that etheric web, that interweb of yeah, just light beacons and holding down our different
Mhm.
sectors and doing the good work. So I'm grateful for you holding some beautiful light and for inviting me here. It was just lovely to get to meet you, and just your energy when we met you here was just radiant. So
Oh, thank you. Well, when I came to the retreat, Spirit said, we'll tell you who to ask on your show because I didn't come for any of that. I came for the whole experience. And I thought, oh, I can ask everybody this. We'll tell you, you know. And so anyone that comes on the show is definitely Spirit invited. Spirit will say, hey, Sandy, them, and they were pointing to you. And I was like, okay, well, head over there and talk to her. All right, fine. And you were so receptive to it. And here we are. And you were
yeah,
flexible with me while I had my
yes,
basal cell removed there. So
yes,
I'm in recovery with that. So
yeah.
thank you for your flexibility with that. Thank you for all that you do for everyone, and the fact that you can offer it on Zoom so people are not demographically friendly with your zip code and can't go to that expense, they can still receive so much energy healing and love and education, and information to take inwardly to live a healthier outwardly life.
My pleasure. It's an honor every day. I feel like I learn more from each person, and it's gorgeous. It's just we're walking each other home, which is so
Yes,
exciting.
yes, girl. Well, stay put. Let me just close out here. So, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Keep It Spiritually Simple. Remember, don't miss any upcoming or previous episodes. Hit that subscribe. We do appreciate your likes, your comments, and your shares so that this video can wind up on somebody else's screen right when they need it. All right, so much love and stay tuned for future episodes. Say goodbye, Barbara.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody.